Welcome to the Royal Exchange Matchday Live. It's Reading versus Huddersfield tonight. It's Tuesday, the 7th of July. Dan Wimbush joins me from his house. Hello, Dan.
Rich, thanks for having me back on. Great to be with you.
No, thank you very much for joining us once more. We're on YouTube tonight, but hopefully all being
lockdown. Feeling of that since that win at Luton at the weekend, it just makes everything better. Suddenly you stopped looking over your shoulder and you're back thinking, okay, breathe, we're fine. Let's build on and up.
Absolutely. I think we're having one or two little connection issues. You dropped out for about 10 seconds there, but we got you back and heard everything you said.
That was my best 10 seconds of the show, Rich. You're not going to get any better than that. I can't recapture that kind of magic. But I just said it gives you that fantastic feeling that you had.
It does.
And it just sort of carries you through your week and you can start to look really positive.
Absolutely. And like you say, if we'd been coming here tonight off the back of a defeat at Luton, let's say, which, it could have happened, then you really would be looking over your shoulder and you'd be calling this a six-pointer as well, wouldn't you? Absolutely.
I mean, we spoke on both the shows that we've done so far, is if that momentum turns against you, you do start looking over your shoulder. And, obviously that 5-0 win against Luton and what's happening at Wigan, as unfortunate as that is, it's just kind of eased that pressure. And you can start to look at the team and go, okay, well, how's this going to look next season? Can we start building some things, positive things towards next year, rather than just thinking, okay, we've got to, fight tooth and nail for every point this season. Again, it just sort of lightens that mood. You're not worried about, relegation or anything like that. And you can just go into games, with a positive mindset rather than hiding behind the sofa cushions.
Well, 40 seconds or so until it turns to 5 o'clock, an hour before the game. What would you like to see on today's team sheets?
More of the same, really. I think, one of the criticisms towards past Reading managers has been that they tinker with that winning side. So I'd like to see as steady a team as possible. Obviously, with the games coming so thick and fast, there's going to be little knocks, there's going to be little niggles. So there might have to be one or two that change. But by and large, you want to see those players who did so well at the weekend rewarded for their efforts. And I'm sure Mark Bowen will do his very best to keep that the same. So let's have it. What have we got?
Absolutely. Well, as you mentioned there, the team will be revealed in precisely 7 seconds' time. The manager's got a bit of thinking to do. And should we take a look?
Go for it.
Here's today's squad. As you kind of hoped, it's more or less the same with one exception. Jordan Abita comes in for Ovie Ejaria on the left flank. Ovie unfortunately sustained a minor ankle injury at Luton. I think he actually came off for that exact reason. It's nothing too serious from what I understand, but he misses out on the squad entirely. So just to recap, in goal, Rafael Cabral. The back four, Tyler Blackett and Gabriel Osho in the full-back positions. Tom McIntyre retains his place alongside Michael Morrison. Andy Rinomhota and Pele are going to provide that grit in the base of midfield. John Swift at the number 10 role, Yaku Mata, Jordan Abita on the flanks, George Puskás centre forward. On the bench we've got Sam Walker, Chris Gunter and Liam Moore providing plenty of experience, as do Sam Baldock and Gareth McCleary, Lucas Boye, Michael Elise, Charlie Adam and Omar Richards. Well, Dan, you asked for more of the same. It's with the exception of Ovie, and we know how good Ovie is, it's pretty much the same. A bold selection at Luton and a bold selection again in some respects.
Yeah, that's it. And I mean, any sort of professional player, whenever you hear them interviewed, they just want to say, they say that, they want to be rewarded for what they've done right. And to have, made those sweeping changes and then just gone straight back to, what, unfortunately was an unsuccessful team against Brentford and Derby, would have sent a really sort of bad message around the dressing room. So it's great to see the likes of Osho and McIntyre keep their place in the side. I mean, it's so difficult when your club captain is on the bench, because you do sort of worry as a manager, what kind of, how's his mindset going to be going forward, not just this season and beyond. But I said the key thing is to reward those players that are doing well. And what more could you ask of a team than going away in a pressurised game for Reading, with the results we had going into that game? They had to get a result at Luton, and they did it in absolute style. So, yeah, it's disappointing that Ovie misses out. We know the sort of magic he can provide on a game-by-game basis. But, again, with one door closing, another opens. So, fingers crossed, again, we can deliver the goods tonight and get back-to-back wins. It's been a while now, Rich, since we've won 2 in a row. I think you have to go back to right at the turn of the year when we were in that sort of stunning little mini-run, beating Fulham and Preston for the last time we won 2 in a row in the league. So hopefully we can sort of break that streak tonight.
Absolutely. Well, 2 of those players as well, Tom McIntyre, Gabe Osho, they're the ones who kind of arrive with a bit of fanfare, if you like, because 2 young boys, they've come through the academy together, and yeah, that's fantastic, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, especially when you look at the likes of Osho's career, it's looked a few times if he was going to break through into the side, and then for whatever reason, things haven't gone his way. He's had to go out on loan. And to be honest, if you'd spoke to Reading fans during the lockdown about who might come back into this side of the younger players and whatnot, he might not necessarily be one of the first names on the list, but he's been given his chance and he's taken it in superb style. Again, keeping a clean sheet away at a team fighting for their lives is no mean feat. And especially when you come in for such experienced players, the likes of, he's still young, but he's quite experienced in Richards and Obita and Liam Moore. So I'm great to see him doing so well. I mean, he's one of the players that signed a short-term contract extension. So it's great for him, hopefully, to earn himself a new deal here, or at least, put himself on the map for a new club in the summer. I don't know what his future will be. So a really sort of mature performance from him. McIntyre, he's a guy that is so easy for fans to get behind because he's a Reading lad, always supported the club. He's been at the club since his teenage years. So yeah, fingers crossed from strength to strength for both of them.
Absolutely. Well, I'll tell you what, let's take a little look at the highlights of Luton against Reading, that 5-0 win, and commentary from BBC Radio Berkshire.
Here's Rinamoto, misses the header, but Swift is behind him, trying to get it under control. He's done really nicely to get it under control. Plays it forward to Puskás. Puskás cuts in field. That might be a chance for Matej. 1-0 to Reading. Really well worked. I don't know how intentional it was from Puskás to roll it onto Matej, but clever runs, clever angles. And Reading, having seen their crossbar here to the shout for a penalty in the last couple of minutes, have taken the lead. 16 minutes gone here at Kenilworth Road. And it's another goal to Matej, another goal for Reading, 1-0 up.
Yeah, really good finish by Matej. Lovely quick feed by Swift. Spotted the pass to Puskás. Puskás went inside the defender, and I'm sure that he's meant the pass, and he's just picked a lovely little pass out to Matej. And Matej, right foot finish into the bottom corner. Really good reaction from Reading there after nearly
out to the right-hand side. Matej, the goal scorer, he'll feel better about life having done that. All the Reading team will now feel better about life. Here's Osho with a cross from a narrow angle, and it's hacked away as far as Matej again. 2-0 to Reading. Matej slams it past the goalkeeper for the second time in 2 minutes to give them a 2-0 lead here at Kenilworth Road.
Well, it's just like waiting for the 17 from Tireless. Waiting for it, and then two come along at once.
It's a little bit of a cliche, but I know what you mean.
Yeah, absolutely. Great finish by Matej. Really good run by Osho. Got to the byline. I didn't think he was going to get it, but he got his cross in. The keeper seemed to fumble it. There was a shot that came back to Matej, and Matej this time buried it past the keeper.
And it could bury Luton.
Well,
it could
absolutely
bury them for this afternoon and therefore for the season, couldn't it? That could be a really bad moment for Nathan Jones. All coming shortly after that rant, I'll just remind you. How distracting might that have been for the players? Swift with the interception on the stretch. Osho needs to win the follow-up header because his clearance was cut out. Here is Swift now. Out to Blackett. Leading the line, Matej and Puskás. Blackett running down the left-hand side. The rain now coming down a bit more heavily. Here's Ajaria, edge of the box. That's a great ball. Here's Matej for a hat-trick. Matej scores a hat-trick. And it didn't take him long. 35 minutes here at Kenilworth Road. And Yaku Matej's goal scoring, well, he's right back in the goals. A hat-trick, 35 minutes gone. Luton 0, Reading 3.
Yeah, really good run by Blackett down the left-hand side. He's fizzed the ball into Ajaria. Ajaria's beaten the player and then picked a lovely pass to Matej. And Matej, great first touch, and then he's just bent the ball around the keeper to the far side of the goal. Fantastic. He'll be absolutely delighted, Matej, as will the rest of his teammates and obviously the management and coaching staff. 3-0 up before half-time.
Here's Blackett on the left for Reading, delivering the ball deep into the box. That's a pretty decent delivery. In towards Morrison, who heads back across goal. Puskás gets his goal. His head out from a couple of yards out. The punch in the air. 4-0 Reading. 11 minutes into the second half. Exactly what George Puskás wanted.
No, absolutely. Great ball by Tyler Blackett to the far post. I think it was Morrison who got up at the far post, headed it back across goal. Puskás, nice powerful header from about 6-7 yards. 4-0 Reading, no way back for Luton now.
That was a very good ball in from Blackett on the left.
Great ball in.
And a very good header back across goal by Morrison. And George Puskás does what a striker needs to do. Strong enough in the air, 3 or 4 yards out. He'll score more spectacular goals, but it's just what he needed at the moment. Here's Ajaria to Puskás. Puskás on the halfway line, first time through. Here's Matej for 4. 4, and Matej scores his 4th of the afternoon, Reading's 5th. Matej celebrating. What an afternoon for Yaku Matej. First he gets the Yat trick, and now he makes it 4.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, listen, there's no way he was going to miss that. It's so much confidence with these 3 goals already, and he's just ran through. He's too strong, too quick for the Luton defenders, and he just slid it past the keeper. No question he was going to score. Great afternoon.
4 goals for Yaku Matej, 1 for George Puskas. Of course, the headlines are all about Yaku, naturally so. When you score 4, he's in pretty esteemed company there. That's a fine feat, isn't it?
Yeah, what did Tim Della call it there? The yak trick, which I quite enjoyed. Yeah, I mean, I was digging through the archives for the last time before. I think it's, what was it, Kerry Dixon, I think you have to go back to.
Wow.
For a long, long time. Certainly nobody in the Madejski era, although Jamie Curate did score 4 against us at the Madejski Stadium once. But a fantastic achievement. I mean, he's a striker that throughout his time at Reading has threatened to really break through the wall and sort of become a really feared championship forward. And then he just kind of has a couple of games where, he's a bit quiet, maybe he doesn't think, and then he will just pop up with a performance like that. And, we spoke about George Puskas in the last show, and did he need sort of that goal to sort of get him back up and running? And hopefully, he got his goal there. Yaku got 4. You can't go into a game on any better form than that. So, again, it's just one of those scenarios where you hope it kicks him on. I mean, previous managers have sort of said in the past about Yaku that he's got all the tools. It was just a sort of a mental thing. Could he sort of put all that together and keep that consistency, or bring that consistency into his game? So fingers crossed this is, the start of that. Again, without being too disrespectful to Luton, it's one thing going and, scoring a bunch against the bottom of the league side who are low on form and confidence. It's another thing to try and do it in those bigger games, doing it at home to Brentford, away to Derby. And that's what Reading fans will be looking to see now. They'll want to see that this wasn't just a one-off burst of goals. We want to see those goals, and not just one goal, 1, 2, chipping in game after game. And hopefully, as I said, that is the start of that for Yaku.
Well, I wanted to ask you, I know that A.D. Williams asked him and Mick Goodin on the radio, was it a case of Reading being good or Luton being bad? I'm sure there's a mixture of two in there, but Reading, when they've often in the past, they've had situations where they've been the better team but haven't been able to exploit that, and I think they were, emphatically exploited that against Luton. I think that's fair to say. Absolutely,
and it would have been quite easy for Reading. We were starting to nervously look over our shoulder a little bit. I mean, I'm not in the dressing room, obviously, and Mark Byrne making all the right noises, but you can't help but think that the players might have been starting to think, oh God, we get a bad result here today. We've really got to pull our socks up. So they could have had those nervy moments, but they didn't. They kept pushing on, and that's what we've been desperate for Reading sides ever since the Brian McDermott era. We've not been good at sort of finishing teams off, getting into the ascendancy and really, putting them to the sword. It was a big hallmark of the Jaap Stam era. We were getting lots of 1-0 wins, 2-1 wins, but we'd always be on the edge of our seats because we just couldn't get that decisive cushion. So to go in, and as I said, to do it against a team that, they've got a lot of spirit. They've got a lot of success in their recent history with double promotions. So they're a team that, okay, maybe not this season, but they do know how to win games. So for us to see it out so well, and again, as we talked about earlier, with a couple of rookie defenders in there as well, it's one of those games where you literally just sit there and go, well, I can't think of too many negatives from it. And it's great to be talking about a game like that for Reading for a change.
Yeah, and we mentioned the team news a moment ago, but it's worth really picking on that to an extent. We put the young boys in, but that was at the expense of some very experienced players. Obviously Liam Moore was the one who came out for Tom McIntyre. Chris Gunter, one of Wales's most capped outfield players, came out the squad, and Gabe Osho, who's got very little experience at this level, came in. Not only did they perform, exceptionally well, and a reminder as well, we put the slide on the screen. They were both in the team of the week along with Yaku and Mark Bone as the manager. The fact that you're sacrificing that experience and it pays off such an amazing amount of dividends was, credit to the manager as well, surely.
Yeah, it's, as I said earlier, it sends the perfect message to those young players that, look, if you perform, we'll give. If you impress me in training, I'll give you a chance. If players don't perform in the first team, they're not undroppable. We've had it in the past again with Reading managers like Steve Coppell. Fans would say, well, he's been overly loyal. That player's not performing. I know he's got potential, but he needs taken out the side, taken out the firing line. And Mark Bowen, his post-match comments after that Brentford defeat left no illusions that he was not happy with his team's performance, and he's gone and backed that up. He's not just all fire and brimstone to the media and then actually just gone and trotted out the same side a few days later. No, he's followed through on that, and he sent a clear message to his players: perform or you're not going to be in the side. Obviously, every player, if you have 5 good games and have 1 bad game, it's not to say, oh great, you're straight out of the team. But this was a team that since the restart haven't kicked on, and Mark's looked at it and gone, right, okay, presumably, Gabriel Osho and Tom McIntyre are impressed in training, they're back in the side, and they're impressed in the game, so they stay in the team. As good as Liam Moore's been over the past 4 or 5 years, what is the old saying? You're only good at, as good as your last game or last few games. So hopefully that gives him, the proverbial kick up the backside as well, and he'll kick on and be determined to win his place back.
2 players have also retained their place, Tyler Blackett and Pele. Neither of them had been involved in the first 3 games after the restart. I don't think that either of them had even come off the bench, and they were both thrust into the starting 11, retained their places today. And Tyler was excellent from left back, and Pele, I mean, personally, I absolutely love what he does in the centre of midfield. He breaks things up, he's really physical, and he loves to pick a pass as well. And, other than that early yellow card, which had him walking the tightrope for the rest of the game, he was, they made a difference as well. Maybe that sort of restructure, because of course we didn't have Andy or Pele in the squad, when we played Stoke here a few weeks ago. So, yeah, it's 2 other changes that maybe made a difference as well.
Absolutely. In Pele's case, you don't get to a club like Monaco unless you've got talent. And we've seen it in, fits and starts here at Reading, that he can give you that control. And I did look at the midfield against Brentford and Derby, and you do look at Michael Elise, John Swift and Ovie Ejaria and think, are they a bit too similar? Especially away from home, do you need a bit of steel in the midfield and a bit more control? And Pele brings you that. And again, the results showed it. And as for Tyler Blackett, Tyler Blackett reminds me a lot of what Hal Robson-Kanu used to do for Reading, where he would, come in out of nowhere and just have this fantastic game. And you suddenly remembered why he was such a fantastic talent, why he was, playing for Manchester United not so long ago, and why he went on loan to Celtic. And he's done it again, a bit like Pele's done it sporadically here. The key thing for Tyler, again, is to keep that form going. I remember he came into the side, we talked about the last time we won back-to-back games. He came into the side for that spell around Christmas, New Year, and played brilliantly. I remember, I think we scored a couple of carbon copy goals against Preston and Fulham, and he was an integral part of the build-up down the left. So again, hopefully he can kick on. But I suppose the thing in the back of the manager's mind is that Tyler is out of contract at the end of the season. Pele's loan comes to an end at the end of the season as well. So it's a real delicate balancing act of trying to get results and getting your best team on the pitch, while also being pragmatic and being honest and saying, well, I can't rely on you being here next season. So I do have to give others that opportunity to impress.
Yeah, well, plenty to think about for the manager, Mark Bowen, but I think his primary focus, straight after the game against Luton, was moving on to Huddersfield, as was Yaku Mete. Let's hear what they had to say after the game.
I'm happy, it's my record. Last year it was 12 or 13, I don't know, but I just want to do more. I just want to score goals and help my teammate to win games. So hopefully I will keep scoring goals.
One game, somebody asked me about that old question about, have you got anything to play for? Well, okay, if we haven't got a top 6 to go for, which we were hoping for, but we've got to keep demanding of each other that we, if not top 6, top 10, if not top 10, top 12. We've got to have something to play for and to push on from now in the next, 5 games.
We just need to recover quick because the game are coming so fast. So we celebrate this time.
That's the key. We've got to make sure now that it's not just one off. It's a good performance, and I've said many times, the group of players I got are well capable on any given day of competing and beating the best, or the worst, or whatever it may be. But we've got to make sure.
So thank you, everyone. I want to say thank you, everyone, to our fans, to the teammates, everyone who work for Reading. This is for you. So I know you're not there, but we keep doing what we can do on the pitch, and that's for you. Thank you.
Well, Yaku Matey thanking the fans. I think we had plenty to thank him for as well. He's in it. Well, other players are in very esteemed company with Yaku there. I think Serge Gnabry, Robert Lewandowski, Lionel Messi are amongst the players who scored 4 goals in the game this season, and Yaku joins that very elite group. As we mentioned, though, of course, we move on very quickly, Dan. I mean, you'd love to dwell on this win for a week, wouldn't you? But you have to go again. But maybe that gives the opportunity for these back-to-back wins.
Absolutely, and as I said, it's been a while. We need to start putting results together and showing consistency as a team, and that's going to be my word of the day: consistency, because that's what we need to do. And today provides a great opportunity to do so. Huddersfield are a team struggling; they desperately need the points. But you look at it on paper and say, I talked about it last week. The bookmakers, had Brentford as the heavy favourites for good reason. I think we're the favourites today, and again, you'd have to say it's for good reason. I was reading up on what the Huddersfield fans thought going into this game on the preview up on the Tyler stand, and they were saying that, before that Luton game, they'd have fancied coming to Madejski and getting all 3 points because of Reading sort of not having much to play for and being on a bit of a slump. But now they're worried that, Reading have got their tails up again and will be kicking on and looking for, those, as we mentioned, back-to-back wins and trying to build something towards next season. And as I mentioned, you've got the likes of Osho, the likes of Blackett, who are out of contract this summer, and they'll be thinking, I want to string some good performances together to either, increase my chance of getting a new contract here or elsewhere. So there's lots to play for. You can look at the table and say, okay, well, we're safe, we're not going to make the playoffs, we'll just go out and enjoy it. But for individuals, there's a lot to play for, both in terms of their future here and elsewhere. So look, they've got to be on it. As mentioned, Huddersfield will be, they are desperate to get the points. They don't want to do, again, the Huddersfield fans saying, their fans said they were going to do a Sunderland and go down twice in a row. So that's the last thing they want. Danny Cowley, great young manager. I'm sure we'll come on to talk to them in a bit more detail later on. But they're not a team to be taken lightly, as the football cliche goes. But, cliches are there for a reason. It's very true tonight.
Well, thank you everyone who's joining us on Facebook Live and YouTube. Apologies for some small connection issues. I think we're dropping a few frames here and there, but thank you for everyone who's persisting. And then just on this game then tonight, how do you see it being different to, Brentford and Luton? I mean, they were totally different games. Where does this fit on that spectrum?
Somewhere in the middle. I think it'll be much more like the Stoke game that we saw, albeit the players are a lot more sharper than they would have been a couple of weeks ago. Both sides have already played. So much change seems that you're scared about. You look at their lineup and, Carlan Grant I think he's got 18 goals this season. Fantastic player. Mounier, who I haven't checked the Huddersfield team much, I don't think he's involved tonight. But beyond that, there's not a lot of players that you go, okay, he's really going to, we're going to have to watch him. We talked about before the Brentford game, the likes of Ollie Watkins and Ben Rama, the players that really struck fear into you. There's not that fear factor for Reading, but is that a good thing or a bad thing? Is it good thing in terms of, okay, you've not got so much quality against you, but does that take off a little bit of the mental edge? We saw what happened to Liverpool the day, the game after they won the title. They went up to City, and City and Huddersfield are a slightly different kettle of fish, but without that slight bit of mental edge, it was a completely different ball game to what it would usually be. So hopefully the division going to be stronger. I
think you mentioned the consistency as well, Dan. From a Reading point of view, yeah, you'd love to. I think every fan sort of show something like your best.
Yeah, I mean, again, I can do a job in the team next season, the season after that. I can grow with this side, and if you are only turning it on once every 3 or 4 games, the manager's still going to have in his mind, okay, well, great, but if I can't rely on you week in, week out, is there somebody that can do a better job? So it's up to those Reading players in the lineup, and those that come off the bench as well. We saw Mark Bowen use 5 substitutes again in that win at Luton. The likes of Sam Buildup coming on, Gareth McCleary. It's up to everyone to take their chance. And as Mark has shown, if you do impress, be it coming off the bench or from the start, then you'll get a chance next week. So again, every game has to be seen as a massive opportunity for this squad. And as fans, we're desperate to see them take that chance.
just a little reminder for everyone watching about how you can watch tonight's game. Of course, you can watch on iFollow if you switch over there anytime soon. If you're a season ticket holder, you don't have to pay a thing. You can just use your redemption code. If you're not a season ticket holder, get a match pass. Any issues, of course, you can just email ifollow@efl.com and they'll sort out any problems you've got. And that's what we've got to look forward to in a little over half an hour's time. Huddersfield Town as well. We can't really avoid the issue or sort of work around it. They've got a history with Reading, so to speak, in recent times.
I thought we were going to get through this entire show without you bringing up Reading's history with Huddersfield, which I'm very disappointed in you. Yeah, look, the elephant in the room, of course, the last time we faced Huddersfield, we won. So I presume that's the history, talking about that 2-0 win. What I can't even remember what it's called now. What used to be the Alfred McAlpine Stadium. Is it the
John Smith's? Yeah, there we go.
John Smith's now. Yeah, there we go. We won that game 2-0, and you did feel good. You've got that little measure of revenge for that day at Wembley 3 years ago. But I was looking through, Huddersfield's predicted lineup for tonight's game, and there's only a couple of players in their squad that are still there from that playoff campaign. So a lot has changed for them. I mean, Reading have still got a few holdovers, the likes of Liam Moore and Gareth McCleary featured that day. But, do we have that rival? Is there that bitterness between Reading and Huddersfield? I don't feel the same. Maybe it's because I'm getting older. I don't feel the same animosity that I do towards, say, a Bolton or a Walsall or even Swansea. My lingering feelings from that day at Wembley are just disappointment, really, because I look, I've seen the highlights a couple of times, and you just think that Reading didn't go for it. They held back that day, and to go down and be to score their penalties. But as it is, you have to take the match as a whole, and it was a whimper. I don't think you'll find many Reading fans digging out the DVD to watch the highlights of that one again. Whereas I can happily watch the first 25 minutes of that second half against Swansea, or the entire first half against Bolton, because we played some fantastic football, which unfortunately we didn't that day.
Yeah, well, listen, I was going to sort of going to pretend that we were going to watch it and just show you some test bars or rickroll you or something. Instead, I'm not even going to pretend we're going to watch that game again, because we know how raw that still is. Just a reminder that you can win a signed shirt this evening if you use Twitter using the hashtag REAversusup. We had Linda there with a cutout of Jamie Curitan watching from home on iFollow. There's a 5-year-old Joshua's already got his bedroom kitted out and looking great. And Kerry had to watch in the garden. There was a few fantastic entries. I know, Dan, you've got a fairly good setup at home. Of course, we were very proudly sent our shirt all the way across across the world to Terry Kempster, who was our eventual winner. I'll have a little look at what video he sent through of his. Well, I was going to call it, his Reading shrine, if you like. Fingers crossed that shirt gets to him safely, and that'll take his.
I'll let other people do it. I think I've got enough. Also, I don't think the wife would tolerate another signed shirt being hung up.
There we go.
I'd run out of space, so that'll be my excuse.
Well, Dan, one quick question on Huddersfield: would you? Listen, they beat us at Wembley. We were gutted on that day, but would you swap the situation? Because bear in mind what they've been through, fairly joyless couple of years in the Premier League, and then a tough season this year. Would you swap it?
Yeah, just a quick correction. I said Steve Munoz wasn't playing. He is playing today. So again, one of their records. It's a surprise, judging by the fact they've used an exclamation mark on the club website. So there you go. Would I swap? The last time we were in the Premier League was largely a miserable experience. Brian McDermott wasn't given the tools he needed to keep the team in the division. I think it's been fairly well publicised. All the problems that were going on off. The season of droppings and beatings and just not being good enough, and draw with Manchester City as we onwards, and that carried into their second Premier League season, and it was looking like being one of the historically low points totals. I think they were on course to match Derby's effort at one stage, but they just about pulled themselves away from that unwanted record. But so would I swap the greatest of seasons since then as well? So would I rather have had Premier League relegation battles or Championship relegation battles? If you offer me that, then I suppose I'd rather be getting walloped at Old Trafford.
Or regret.
It's nice in the way days. It's Huddersfield fans, they got to live the dream. It'd been a long time since they've watched their team in the top division. Whereas we've been very fortunate at Reading to have seen 3 Premier League seasons in the last 15 years. So we're a little bit spoiled.
Absolutely. Again, apologies to everyone who's watching, who's persisting. They beat Manchester United. That's brilliant for them. They drew with City and Chelsea, but on the whole, quite a joyless experience. You mentioned that just streak of L's against their name. There was, I think they won 3 of them, and then they beat Fulham, and that was it in all competitions in 40 games. So you don't want to denigrate it too much, of course, because they.
Yeah, and I think what will be really disappointing for Huddersfield fans is the way that they've sort of responded to that. I mean, you could look at it and say, okay, well, we knew we were always fighting against the odds, but let's build up a really solid, hungry squad that if we do go down, can sort of get us back into that contention. As it happens, they've just sunk, and instead are in danger of doing a Sunderland, or what happened to Wolves a few years ago as well, of back-to-back relegations, and that's what will really hurt Huddersfield fans. But is it a surprise? I mean, again, without wanting to take too much away from David Wagner and the team that is in the playoff final, okay, admittedly, I'm 100% honest. I'm slightly like us that season where they were getting the results at the right time. They had Aaron Moy, who sort of inspired them on to promotion. And you always, I think it might have even had a negative goal difference. They didn't score a goal in the playoffs at all. They got 2-0, 3-0 draws, and won twice on penalties to go up. So the warning signs were already there. And yes, some wonder strikes from Moy and some other great individual performances kept them up Wolves have been a great example in the last couple of years. You always got the feeling they were just hanging on. And so it's proved, and they've come back down to the Championship. And again, I looked through their starting lineup again tonight, and there's not a lot where you sit there and think, okay, well, they're going to be set for the next few years. I mean, Toffolo's, great fullback. Schindler's a hangover from that change with the Championship side is you get a player that scores 15, 20 goals, and they're plucked by one of the bigger boys. So, I'd be honest, if I was a Huddersfield fan, I wouldn't be massively optimistic about the future right now. But look, things can happen. I remember Burnley came down from the Premier League after their first season there, when, again, they beat us in the playoffs to get there. And you thought, okay, well, they're going to sink back down now. And they didn't. Sean Dyche rallied them, and look where they are today. So they'll be looking
on the left, and Gabriel Osher retained his place on the right. His fellow academy graduate Tom McIntyre is in central defence alongside Michael Morrison. Andy Rinomhota and Pele in the base of midfield, John Swift ahead of them, Jordan Abita on the left flank, Yaku Meta on the right, and George Puskás retains his place in the centre forward role. So yeah, we're going to wrap up in a few minutes' time, Dan. I think we'll put a few people out of misery. I know we've had a lot of connectivity issues tonight. Let's just take a little look at the slide of the final five games. Of course, it starts tonight against Huddersfield Town. Then we're away to Charlton on Saturday at 12:30 kickoff. Back to Madejski Stadium in a week's time to play against Middlesbrough. Then our long away trip to Blackburn on Saturday the 18th of July. Fine, that's been confirmed as a now. We sort of thought that might be the case, before the restart, and it's kind of proven that way. The top six is out of reach realistically, and thankfully the sort of bottom three is looking a little bit out of reach as well. So what do you kind of want to see in these last 5 games?
My word of the day: consistency. And I want these players to prove that they can do it in different conditions and against different oppositions. Again, it's one thing bullying a team bottom of the league. I want to see if they can do it against a rugged, determined Neil Warnock side for Middlesbrough, for example. I want to see if they can do it against, a Lee Bowyer Charlton side, again, that are fighting for their lives. A Blackburn team going away to Ewood Park against a team that has still got playoff ambitions. Can they have another side that they'll be competing against next season? You want to send little messages out. You want to again, the players on the pitch will want to prove to the manager either I deserve a new contract or give me a raise, or looking to maybe scouts that are attending saying, look at what I can do here. I've put in the effort in the last sort of, not the biggest fish in this pond anymore. So again, from a fan's point of view, I just want to see some good results and some good performances. Good performances probably over the luxury we have now is that the performances can possibly take precedence over the results because we don't necessarily need the points as desperately as we might have done. So again, give Osho the chance, give Tom McIntyre the chance to impress. Are they?
And before we do wrap up, Dan, you mentioned earlier on Danny Cowley and his brother Nicky. They came in because they were part of that Lincoln setup that beat Huddersfield, that kind of embarrassed them, if you like. And they do need the results, really. We, as you mentioned there, the pressure's off us to an extent, which hopefully allows that kind of liberation, if you like, to kind of be expressive and play without any fear. You have to feel to an extent for Huddersfield, but from our point of view, let's exploit it.
Absolutely. As that I was mentioning, that Huddersfield fan talking about it, he'd be worried because Reading are on that roll. There's no better feeling than winning 5-0 away from home, and you want to come back. Unfortunately, you've not got your fans to play in front of. But again, it's the worst possible thing for them to see Reading having won so handsomely. But I mentioned the Liverpool example. Does this free Reading up to play some good football, or do they, are they slightly on the beach? And I hope it's not that sentiment, and that we do kick on and have that consistency. And look, again, if Huddersfield get relegated because of it, that's their punishment for beating us on penalties at Wembley.
Absolutely.
So I won't feel too guilty.
Quite exactly. Well, 20 minutes until